Campaign 2020 is heating up, and our political specialist Sean Boyd is on top of all of it. She talked with our analysts about why so many candidates are skipping a well-known debate.
Historically, Labor Day marks the unofficial start to the campaign season. Of course, these days seems like campaigning never ends. Thank goodness we have two level-headed, fair-minded, thoughtful analysts to help us navigate these crazy times. Republican Dick Wadhams, Democrat Mike Dino. Good to see you guys.
Nice to see you, Sean.
In Colorado, we always think of Club 20. The Club 20 debate on the Western Slope is really kicking things off, but Jared Polis in 2018 skipped the debate. Now you've got John Hickenlooper and Diane Mitch Bush, whose district includes Club 20, skipping this debate. Mike, this is a business and civic organization. We're in a really bad economic downturn right now. Why skip a debate from a group like this that's not partisan?
Well, I do think on the Democratic side, certainly Governor Polis as a candidate set precedent for not showing up 2 years ago. What did surprise me is that the Republican candidate, Lauren Boebert, said she wasn't going to go because she wanted to pre-record her responses or at least know what the questions were ahead of time. And so, Dick and I, with candidates in the past, even 18 years ago when I was running a gubernatorial campaign for a Democrat, we knew that it may have leaned Republican, but it was a friendly environment, collegial to some extent, and I think that's changed. I think because of the last 4 years, it just become more strident, more negative, and people feel less comfortable being in that venue than they once were.
It's interesting. Dick, I kind of think of it as a snub of the Western Slope. I hadn't realized that Club 20 had come to be thought of as more of a right-leaning, truly right-leaning organization.
Well, it is not a right-leaning organization, Sean. There are many Democrats from the Western Slope who are involved. But it goes beyond Club 20, and Club 20 has had a long, proud tradition of fair debates going back decades. It's even a snub of rural Colorado, I think, by Hickenlooper especially. He also turned down a request by Club 20, Progressive 15, and Action 22, the three main rural organizations in Colorado. They wanted to jointly host a rural Colorado debate in Alamosa in the San Luis Valley, and Hickenlooper said no to that. And I'm still not sure why Diane Mitch Bush in the 3rd District turned it down. She is a former board member of Club 20. And frankly, I think it's a very disturbing trend. Two things. Number one, Democrats continue to kind of treat rural Colorado as an orphan and that they don't want to have anything really to do with it. Second of all, we have had a proud tradition, and Mike acknowledged that with what he said about 18 years ago. We have had a proud tradition in Colorado politics of having of candidates on both sides being willing to debate many times. I've been a part of many of those running campaigns. I think it's a great Colorado tradition, but it is in jeopardy right now because of the behavior of candidates in 2018, and I think of John Hickenlooper in 2020.
Mike, do you think voters care that candidates don't do these debates anymore?
I do think campaigns know. I know it doesn't have as much cachet as it once did because we have so many different media platforms. TV is still the most dominant one, and we can't deny that because we see all the money that's spent on ads. But when it comes to earned media or media that is, not paid for in advertisements, it has less of a cachet.
Dick, you agree with that? That voters just really don't care anymore if the candidates don't do many debates? You've got one debate right now that both Hickenlooper and Gardner have agreed to with the Pueblo Chieftain, the newspaper.
Yeah, and I love Pueblo. I went to college there, I worked there, but believe me, there needs to be more than just Pueblo that has a debate. But Sean, I would never suggest that even during the glory years of debates where both candidates agreed to these debates, that every Colorado voter was glued to their TV watching them. But I do think over the course of a series of 4, 5, 6, or even 7 or 8 debates, that voters become aware of where these candidates stand, their strengths and weaknesses. And so that's why I think debates are still very relevant. And I just don't buy off this notion, well, we shouldn't do them just because nobody watches.
John Hickenlooper has got his first negative ad on the air. He is somebody who has denounced negative advertising for years, since he's gotten into politics. He said, I'm not going to do that. You know, the short-term gain that you get from it isn't worth the long-term damage that it does. So, Dick, what do you make of this?
Well, I think it's another reflection of where this race might be heading. I mean, for them to violate his long-standing, almost sacred commitment, he would never do a negative ad, and now he's got one up, tells me that they think they've got to go negative on Corey because of what the dynamics of the race. And otherwise, why would they go through the brain damage of the criticism they're going to get, and they are getting on this? So I just think it's another indication this race is getting closer, and that the Hickenlooper campaign sees it in their own polling, and we're starting to see it in the public polling, and they thought it was worth the criticism.
Yeah, Mike, it's interesting because you've got these outside groups that will do the negative advertising for him. You know, he really didn't even need to do it himself.
Well, and we saw an outside group who ran an ad against John Hickenlooper about the Firestone gas explosion that Senator Gardner asked to pull down.
Right.
So, you know, the Governor Hickenlooper has been attacked from all angles so far. I do agree with Dick that it will close, though a poll showed him earlier in the week at 9 points ahead, and we'll see fluctuation in that. But what it'll come down to is that the voters don't penalize you for doing negative ads. They never have. John probably got very little cachet from doing it. How many times have I used the word cachet in this interview? Stop doing that.
We haven't been counting.
But it is, he got more traction when he ran locally, particularly in Denver, by not doing negative ads. But once you get into the partisan environment, the voters don't penalize you for that.
Dick, any final thoughts here?
Well, first of all, I mean, Mike raised a good issue with that ad on the Firestone explosion. And I thought that was in very poor taste as well, Sean. They should not have aired that ad. And it underscores the problem when campaigns don't have control of their messages. But in this case, this is the Hickenlooper campaign doing this ad. So they can't escape from it. And I think he's going to pay a price.
Thanks, guys.